Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and it's been a few days since release. It looks like Omens of Destruction has already hit its peak and I wanted to talk about it as there's a few things to discuss. I was going to do this earlier during the weekend, but I've been hit with a rather chronic chest infection. As always, I have the best luck when it comes to the Christmas period. But yeah, let's talk about it, right? So, when it comes to the peak, it hit at 48,000 players. Number-wise, that isn't too bad, but there's a few things to discuss because obviously it's not great when compared to other DLCs. Thrones of Decay and the Forge of the Chaos Dwarves did a lot more in terms of active concurrent players, but it still beat out Shadows of Change at 34,000. Now, I said this in many videos, I was never really expecting Omens of Destruction to be a big hitter. Those races aren't as popular, and it was just kinda obvious that it wasn't going to be a big DLC. Pair that with Creative Assembly's rather baffling mistakes, you know, they do what they do best, last second changes to splash attacks and so on, which led to many units fighting like wet noodles. Some people were put off by it. Hell, the DLCs are all running on mixed right now on Steam, which is amazing. I'm being sarcastic, obviously, but hey, you make the bed, you lie in it, right? One thing that's really important to note here, and it's something that a developer told me himself, is that the live numbers of players doesn't actually represent the sales numbers and who exactly is playing across the board. It's actually a different thing that they never put out publicly. It's quite curious because we always look towards Steam charts and looking at the 24-hour peak, the players playing right now, but apparently that's not the case when you're looking at how many people have been buying DLCs and also how long people are playing for. Because there's a lot of events where people will log on, be there for a minute, and then just log off. It happens with this game and it happens with pretty much every other game. And it won't take too much of an educated guess to know that this DLC is actually selling, despite the fact that the player peak wasn't that high. From my own conversations with Creative Assembly, which, by the way, they're not telling us sales numbers, they never tell creatives anything, especially stuff that we'd like to know. But they seem pretty content, and it wasn't the same feeling talking to them as when it was Shadows of Change. Now the big question, is Omens of Destruction selling well, or was it selling well? In the launch and about for 2 or 3 days, yeah, pretty much. It was pretty high up on the Steam top sellers list. As this is a bundle, it's pretty much unknown to see how much people have been buying each of the individual ones, but all 3 of them were in the top 10 for a while. They have dropped dramatically since then, but keep in mind that when it comes to Warhammer products, it's the whole FOMO thing. So people are buying on day one because they want to start playing ASAP. I know, this is something that mostly just hits the tabletop, but no, this is actually hitting here too. It's quite curious to get good numbers on that. I think an educated guess would say that a lot of people are buying the bundle as a whole because it does end up being a better value. I know from my own sales on Instant Gaming, because I'm able to track what is selling through affiliate accounts and so on. I'm not showing the back end because, you know, usual stuff. But yeah, a lot of it, like the grand majority of the sales for the DLC was the bundle as a whole. Can't go wrong with it considering it's £15. Something really interesting to note is that the base game for Warhammer 3 did end up becoming top seller for a while too, so it looks like there's an intake of new players. It's currently on number 20, but it was higher before. But stuff like that can be healthy for the game, and we just have to wait and see how long they actually stay. This is not a cheap franchise. Now, it's not publicly known, but through some very, very reputable sources, it's estimated that Thrones of Decay actually sold around 1 million copies, which is really high. But very much expected considering that it's incredibly well themed, all the characters had quite a lot going for them, and ultimately it was a DLC that people wanted really, really badly. I'm not sure how well Omens is selling, but sources are indicating that it's fairly high. Not amazing numbers like Thrones or Forge of the Chaos Dwarfs, but much higher than that of Shadows of Change. And I guess that kind of makes sense. Even with the issues presented in Omens, it's still a little bit more interesting than it was for Shadows of Change. I imagine Omens will sell around half that, or maybe more. I could see it going up to like 80% if Creative Assembly dedicate themselves to fixing up patches and actually sorting out the DLC properly. They've done a big hotfix recently to fix the splash damage, which shouldn't have been a thing at launch, but hey. And there's apparently going to be another hotfix this week. The big problem here, and this needs to be discussed, they need to stop fucking selling shit that's not ready to launch. I feel like the damage has been done and they've actually shot themselves in the foot, and that's the Creative Assembly special, unfortunately. Certain changes that happened at launch, which weren't present until the final release build, so the last build that we were streaming, it's ridiculous that that even happens. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about this. It looks like it's selling, but not as well as Creative Assembly might hope, but they seem still fairly happy. Let's see how it goes next year when Sega starts looking at the numbers. We're never really going to find out these financials. Creative Assembly are actively hiding their financial posts now. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I do apologize for the short video and the small break. I wasn't really planning on that. I'm just not feeling great. It's taken me like 4 hours to record this small video, and it's not that difficult to do. But yeah, I'm coughing a lot. Have a good one, guys. I'll see you all again very, very soon. Yes, I know I said the outro, but I'm coming in once again because I thought of something and my brain just decided to work. It's important to note that the average player numbers are higher right now. They're not as bad as they used to be. And I think that's something to take into account. So people are still buying anyway, and people are still playing. Keep in mind that prior to this, during the Shadows of Change debacle, it was hitting 10,000 players, sometimes even less. And it's starting to see a constant rise. Even though there's ups and downs, it's very much still there's player numbers generally going up. And this is why I can justify saying that Omens will sell around half to 80% of what Thrones did, because not everyone's playing every single day. So the 35,000 peak, that's on one day. Say, for example, in September, it's very likely that we have a couple of 100,000 people playing every single month. It's something that I know sounds odd, but you have no idea how popular this game is. It's not Counter-Strike, but it does get a lot of retention. There's people who play multiple days. I play near enough every single day. But clearly, I'm an exception to the rule because, yeah, I'm just weird that way. But yeah, just wanted to point that out. Have a good one, guys. I'm going to go get some rest.